I will be reading today James the Giant Peach, and we are on chapter 26, and hopefully I'll be reading chapters 26 and 27. So, in the last chapter, James cried out, "Look out!" The centipede, who had begun dancing wildly around the deck during the song, had suddenly gone too close to the downward curving edge of the peach, and for 3 awful seconds he had stood teetering on the brink of it, swinging his legs frantically in circles in effort to stop himself from falling over, backwards into space. But before anyone could reach him, down he went. He gave a shriek of terror as he fell, and the others, rushing to his side, peering over, saw his poor long body trembling and tumbling over through the air, getting smaller and smaller until it was out of sight. "Silkworm!" yelled James. "Quick, start spinning!" The silkworm sighed. She was still very tired from spinning all the silk for the seagulls, but she did as she was told. "I'm not going down after him," cried James, grabbing the silk string. "Oh, no," he said, "I am going down after him," James cried, grabbing the silk string as it started coming out of the silkworm and tying the end around his waist. "The rest of you hold on to the silkworm so I don't pull her over with me. And later on, if you feel 3 tugs of the string, start hauling me up." He jumped and went tumbling down after the centipede, down, down, down the sea below, and you can imagine how quickly the silkworm was having to spin to keep up with the speed of him. "We'll never see either of them again," cried Ladybug. Oh dear, just when we were all so happy too." Miss Spider, the glowworm, and the Ladybug all began to cry. So did the earthworm. "I don't care a bit about the centipede," the earthworm sobbed, "but I really did love that little boy." Very softly, the old green grasshopper started to play the funeral march on his violin, and by the time he had finished, everyone, including himself, was flooded with tears. Suddenly, there came 3 sharp tugs on the rope. "Pull!" shouted the old green grasshopper. "Everyone, get behind me! Pull!" There were about a mile of string to be hauled in, and they all worked a little mad in the end. Over the side of the peach they appeared, and it was them, a dripping wet James with a dripping wet centipede clinging to him tightly with all of his 42 legs. "He saved me," gasped the centipede. "He swam around in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and he found me." "My dear boy," the green grasshopper said, "I do congratulate you." "My boots!" cried the centipede. "Just look at my precious boots. They're all ruined by water." "Be quiet!" the earthworm said. "You are lucky to be alive." "Are we still going up and up?" asked James. "We certainly are," answered the old green grasshopper, "and it's beginning to get dark." "I know. It'll soon be night. Why don't we all go down below and keep warm until the morning?" Miss Spider suggested. "No," the green grasshopper said. "I think it would be very unwise. It will be safer if we all stay up here through the night and keep watch. If anything happens, we shall be ready for it." Chapter 27. James Henry Trotter and his companions crouched down together on top of the peach as the night began closing around them. Clouds like mountains were towering high above their heads on all sides, mysterious, menacing, and overwhelming. Gradually it grew darker and darker, and the pale 3/4 moon came up over the tops of the clouds and cast an eerie light over the whole scene. The giant peach swayed gently from side to side as it floated along, and the hundreds of silky white strings going up from the stem were beautifully lit in the moonlight. So also was the great flock of seagulls overhead. There was not a sound anywhere. Traveling upon the peach was not like traveling on an airplane at all. Airplanes come clattering and roaring through the sky, and whatever might be lurking secretly up there in the great cloud mountains goes running for cover as the airplane approaches. That is why people who travel in airplanes never see anything. But the peach, yes, the peach was soft, a stealthy traveler, making no noise at all as it floated along, and several times during the long, silent night ride, high up above the middle of the ocean in the moonlight, James and his friends saw things they had never seen before. Once, as they drifted silently past a massive white cloud, they saw on top of it a strange group of tall, wispy-looking things that were about twice the height of any ordinary man. They were not easy to see at first because they were almost as white as the clouds itself. But as the peach sailed closer, it became obvious that these things were actually living creatures, tall, wispy, waif-like, shadow white creatures who looked as though they were made out of a mixture of cotton wool and candy floss with thin white hairs. "Ooh," said the ladybug, "I don't like this at all." "Shh," James whispered back. "Don't let them hear you. They must be cloudmen." "Cloudmen?" murmured the group, huddling closer for comfort. Oh dear. I'm glad I'm blind and I can't see them," the earthworm said, "or I would probably scream." I hope you don't turn around. They don't turn around and see us, Miss Spider stammered. Do you think they would eat us? The earthworm asked. They would eat you, the centipede answered, grinning. They would cut you up like salami and eat you in thin slices. Poor earthworm began to quiver all over with fright. What are they doing? The old green grasshopper whispered. I don't know, James answered softly. Let's watch and see. The cloudmen were all standing in a group, and they were doing some peculiar things with their hands. First, they would reach out, all of them at once, and grab handfuls of clouds. Then they would roll these handfuls of clouds in their fingers until they turned into what looked like large white marbles. Then they would toss the marbles over the side of the cloud and grab more bits of cloud and start over again. It was all very silent and mysterious. The pile of marbles began to keep growing and growing, larger and larger. Soon there was a truckload of them at the feet of the cloudmen. They must be absolutely mad, the centipede said. There's nothing to be afraid of here. Quiet, you pests, the earthworm whispered. We shall be eaten if they see us. But the cloudmen were much too busy with what they were doing to have noticed the great peach floating silently above them. Then the saw the cloudmen raising their long wispy arms above their head and heard them shouting, All right, boys, that's enough. Get the shovels. And the other cloudmen immediately let out a strange high-pitched whoop of joy and started jumping up and down, waving their arms. And then they picked up enormous shovels and rushed over to the pile of marbles and began shoveling them as fast as they could. Down they go, they chanted. Down they go, hail and snow, freezing and sneezing, and noses will blow. That's what they sang. It's hailstones, exclaimed James excitedly. They've been making hailstones, and now they're showering them down on the people in the world. Hailstones, the centipede said. That's ridiculous. It's summertime. You don't have hailstones in summertime. Maybe they're practicing for winter, James told him. I don't believe it, shouted the centipede, raising his voice. Shh, the others whispered, and James softly said, For heaven's sake, Centipede, don't make so much noise. Centipede roared with laughter. Those imbeciles couldn't hear anything. They're deaf as doorknobs, you watch. And before anyone could stop him, he cut the front of his teeth to his mouth, and he was yelling at the cloudmen as loud as he could. Hey, you! Nincompoops! Half-wits! Blunderhead! What on earth do you think you're doing over there? The effect was immediate. The cloudmen jumped around as if they had been stung by wasps, and when they saw a great golden peach floating past them, not 50 yards away in the sky, they gave a yelp of surprise and dropped their shovels to the ground. And they lay there, and they stood there too, in the moonlight streaming down all over them, absolutely motionless, like a group of tall, white, hairy statues staring and staring at a gigantic fruit as if it went sailing by. The passengers on the peach, all except Centipede, sat frozen with terror, looking back at Cloudmen and wondering what was going to happen next. Now you've done it, you loathsome pest, whispered the earthworm to Centipede. I'm not frightened of them, shouted Centipede, and to show everybody once again that he wasn't, he stood up to his full height and started dancing around, making insulting signs at the Cloudmen, all 42 legs of him. This evidently infuriated the Cloudmen beyond belief. All at once they spun around, grabbing handfuls of hailstones, and rushed to the edge of the cloud and started throwing them at the peach, shrieking with fury one at a time. Look out, cried James. Quick, lie down, lie flat on this deck. It was lucky they did. A large hailstone can hurt you as much as a rock or a lump of lead if it's thrown hard enough. And my goodness, how those cloudmen could throw. The hailstones came whizzing through the air like bullets, and James could hear them smashing against the side of the peach, burrowing themselves into the flesh with a horrible squelching noise. Plop, 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 and then ping, 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 as they bounced off the poor ladybug's shell, because she couldn't lie as flat as the others, and then crack as one of them hit Centipede's right in the nose, and crack as another one hit him somewhere else. Ow! He cried. Ow! Stop! 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 But the cloudmen had no intention of stopping. James could see them rushing about on the cloud like a huge, hairy group of ghosts, picking up hailstones from the pile, dashing to the edge, and hurling them at the peach, dashing back and forth to get more and more and more. And when the pile of stones was gone, they simply grabbed handfuls of cloud and made many more, and much bigger ones too, some of them as large as cannons now. Quickly, cried James, down under into the tunnel, before they wipe us out. There was a rush for the tunnel entrance, and half a minute later everyone was safely downstairs inside the stone of the peach, trembling with fright, listening to the noise of the hailstones as they came crashing against the side of the peach. I'm a wreck, groaned Centipede. I'm wounded all over. Serves you right, Earthworm said. Would somebody kindly look and see if my shell is cracked, the ladybug said. Give us some light, shouted old green grasshopper. I can't, wailed the glowworm. They've broken my bulb. Then put in another, the centipede said. Be quiet a moment, James said. Listen! I do believe they're not hitting us anymore. They all stopped talking and listened. Yes, the noise had ceased. The hailstones were no longer smashing against the beach. We've left them behind. The seagulls must have pulled us out of danger. Hooray! Let's go up and see. Cautiously, James went first. Back up out of the tunnel, James poked his head out and looked around. It's all clear, he called. I can't see them anywhere. Till next time.